in this modern world want to play with the numbers, flowchart and tables. We can get everything in a box, we are very happy. But the life will not happen in that way.
I'm Heather Grish, and this is the Wisdom of the Body podcast. This podcast explores the idea of body intelligence as the real key to learning the knowledge of life, or what we call Ayurveda in the ancient language of Sanskrit. We do that by connecting with today's creative leaders and experts who will help you listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. Come join me as we unlock the golden door to clear, direct perception and become very deep listeners. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also follow us by joining my email at heathergrish.com or on Instagram at heathergrish. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. Today, I'm here with Jayarajan Kodikannath, who is Vice President and Director of Kerala Ayurveda Academy. Dr. Jay is a visionary researcher, author, and accomplished teacher of Ayurveda, working currently as the Vice President and Academy Director of Kerala in the United States, Chief Ayurveda Consultant of Kerala Ayurveda Wellness Centers in the USA. He represents a lineage of Ayurvedic practitioners in India. He's also on the board of directors for National Ayurvedic Medical Association, or NAMA, in the United States, with a mission to propagate Ayurveda and make it a credible profession in the Western world. He is conducting various professional education programs in Ayurveda approved by the state of California and also the state of Washington. He was on the curriculum board of Bastyr University in Washington to create the Masters in Ayurveda program and served as the board of directors of California Association of Ayurvedic Medicine. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Jay.
Thank you, Heather, for inviting me to be on this wonderful platform, Wisdom of the Body. And I really appreciate all the work what you are doing in propagating the authentic sciences and to support the communities. So I appreciate.
I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit better. We've been on the board together for a little over a year, and I just feel like I'm just starting to get to know you. So this will be really fun today. And I know that it's interesting. My perception of you in the Ayurvedic community, when people say your name, everybody smiles. I feel like you're one of the most loved teachers in our community. So for the listeners who haven't met Dr. Jay, you're in for a real treat. And some of the things I'd love to dive in with you today on have to do, because you practice Ayurveda in India and also in the United States. I'd love to talk a little bit about that and also about your journey of becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner and, you know, where you see things going as well. So I guess to start, if you're in a coffee shop in your hometown, I know you live in the East Bay in Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area. If you're sitting in a coffee shop and it's not the pandemic and you're sitting there hanging out, doing some work, or just enjoying a tea or something, and the person next to you starts speaking with you and you start getting in a conversation and suddenly they ask you, what do you do? What would be your answer to a complete stranger who knows nothing about Ayurveda?
Great question. I would say that I am a natural holistic practitioner of an Eastern holistic science called Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a natural holistic life science that has very simple but profound principles. Ayurveda says that we are a part of the nature and our flow of life is managed by, supported by, sustained by this nature. All the diseases that happens in our body-mind systems, and at the same time, all the systems to heal our problems are also within our mind-body systems. Digestion is within us, metabolism is within us, hormones, immune system, everything is within us. Since we have all the healing mechanisms within us, Ayurveda says we are the primary healer and nature has all the resources to heal. So this is a system that connects us with the nature, understanding that we are the healers and nature has all the resources to support us.
Oh, that sounds lovely and very necessary right now because we seem to have a lot of people who are not very healthy in the United States. And I was curious because I know you practiced in both India and the United States. Have you seen how people view health different in the two countries? And I know that Ayurveda is much more well known in India than it is in the United States, but in terms of how people view their health, do you see there being any big differences in that, maybe on a psychological level?
Yes. The primary difference is on the Western side, I found that absence of symptoms are considered as health. I'm lucky not to have a symptom. And according to Ayurveda, that is not an indicator of your quality of health. Are you physically, mentally, emotionally able to express yourself as a balanced human being? That makes you a healthy person. It's about the quality of your physical, mental, emotional well being and how well you are able to express in your life every moment than just absence of symptom. So that is the one key difference what I felt. The second fact is healing is not just managing symptoms. The Ayurvedic approach to healing is we say that when you go through an Ayurvedic protocol, you got relief from your symptom. That's great, but still you are on the way. Until and unless we restore the affected organs and rejuvenate the whole mind body system, the Ayurvedic protocol is not really complete. So it's not only about healing the disease, it's about enhancing the quality of life, the health, harmony, peace, happiness, and longevity. These are the primary goals.
It's interesting. It really feels, in terms of a medicine, that there's a very big value system built into Ayurveda. It feels that way for me because when I hear from my own experience with the way we allopathic medicine, there's this problem, then we must solve this problem. And it does feel that maybe more of the second part of what you shared, this sort of restoring the affected organs and rejuvenating the whole system, that it feels like there are some lifestyle components in there for people that may not be sort of integrated into the modern medical system quite yet. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree with that because I see people when their symptom goes down, it's done. Or a cancer patient after having the chemo, is there anything what I need to do on diet and lifestyle? No, there is nothing to do. You can do whatever you want. That approach is not a complete approach because fundamentally, if we have the healing mechanism and if we are not able to support through the right diet, lifestyle practices, our body is waiting for another reason to develop the same disease or something else. So we can really support our mind body system to stay away from disorders and also to completely recover our health.
And I know food's a big part of it. It's certainly something that we focus on a lot in Ayurveda. It's not everything, but it does baffle me that when a person has a surgery, for example, or that many medical conditions don't also come with dietary recommendations. And I guess it makes sense because even a lot of medical doctors talk about how frustrated they are that they don't get the education about nutrition in their training. And I think actually a lot of them come to study Ayurveda after they study allopathic medicine to sort of fill in that gap. It does seem sort of odd that that's not in there. And I don't know if you knew this, but I heard this statistic the other day about the sustainability. I've been really fascinated by sustainability in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear sustainability, I think about it in terms of our health and our longevity, but I also think about it in terms of the planet and nature and the oceans and everything and the bounty that we have available to us. And I heard this statistic that said that the medical system in the United States represents 10% of greenhouse gases as well. I don't know if you've ever heard that. And maybe it's not very significant because maybe our healthcare system also represents, say, like 18% of GDP. So maybe it's not that bad, but it made me realize that the value system that's built into our medical system could have a really, really, really big impact, not just on human health, but also on the planet.
Definitely, definitely. I have many MDs doing our Ayurvedic program. And, that is a big gap there. It's like solving problem only through some external material, not tapping into this unlimited possibilities of our own system supporting in our recovery. It is a deficiency. But, I want to make sure that I am a very clear concept that every system has its own strength and limitations. Every system. Now, if somebody need an emergency surgery or a life-saving support and an emergency management surgery, so definitely modern system has its own, strength. But I agree with you that if we can bring the goodness of all the systems together and make it available to this world as an integrative model would be, it will be really valuable, bringing all the strength of the system. For example, Ayurveda, being a natural holistic science, it can offer a lot in chronic degenerative conditions, autoimmune conditions, progressive disorders, and the mind body imbalances, and enhancing the quality of life. We can do a lot.
Growing up in India, did you come from a family of Ayurvedic doctors? Because I know it's much more common to study Ayurveda in India than it is here in the United States. I mean, my parents couldn't even pronounce Ayurveda. I don't know if I ever told you this, Dr. J, but when I was in Ayurveda school, my father thought I had joined a cult.
Uh-huh.
And he was concerned because I was away at school one weekend and didn't have very good reception. And it was so strange to my family that they thought that I was doing something maybe bad or weird because they had never heard about it or known about it. So I always like to talk about that because I think it's funny and we've, talked about it since it happened. But that's really different than your experience, I would imagine, because growing up in India, there's 400 something thousand Ayurvedic doctors in India, the amount of,
Sure, sure.
right? So it's
Yes.
yeah. So what was it like for you to go on this path and make the decisions to follow this calling?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm coming from an Ayurvedic family. When I say an Ayurvedic family, Ayurveda came through the generations. Now there are a lot of formal education, lot of, thousands of graduates are coming out from Ayurvedic colleges. But if you really look at the history of Ayurveda, it came through the lineages. That means certain families practice Ayurveda, and that family, each generation carry forward that knowledge and experience and the support. And that family is identified in that community or in that, in the state as a go-to place for any health problems and healing. So I'm coming from such an Ayurvedic family. My maternal grandparents were traditional Ayurvedic practitioners. In India, they are called as vaidyas, the traditional Ayurvedic practice. And that has been my inspiration. As a small kid, what I have seen, how the system is helping people. I'll tell you a small story. There was a practice. My granddad had a unique single herb remedy for this migraine, the one-sided headache. So people used to come early in the morning before sunrise, they need to reach. And my granddad would go and take a dip in our natural spring. When he come back, he will be crushing a leaf, in between his palms. And people will be there in line sometime. So he will make them to lie on a bench in the veranda and instill 3 drops of this juice in their each nostril. And the next person will come. And that was considered as one single dose remedy for headache. Not for headache on that day. The tendency of the headache goes away with that nasya, that nose drop. It was really fascinating for me as a small kid. I used to go behind him to understand what is that herb. And he used to tell me that I will give you everything when you are ready to receive it. And of course, he later on gave all the guidance and knowledge to me. It was really fascinating, people coming from far away. And whenever we are in a marriage function, etc., there will be many people coming. Oh, you are the grandson of this person, and they saved my life and my. So it was very uplifting seeing that the value of the science. And that was the real draw for me to be in this field of Ayurveda. I have seen the power of Ayurveda at different areas. And it has been my dream from the beginning that I want to be known as somebody who shared this knowledge with the world and help this knowledge of Ayurveda reach every nook and corner of the world as a natural healing mechanism, help people to understand they are in charge of their health. They can take charge of their health. And nature has their kitchen cabinet and kitchen garden, and their surrounding has enough resources to support them to be healthy, happy, harmonious, and peaceful. So that is the mission. For me, more than this is not just a job, this is a mission. So this is a mission driven journey, and that is why I get excited whenever I'm able to talk to more people and interact with passionate people like you, Heather. Thank you.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And very vivid and totally makes sense where you following your Dharma. And I know that you were also chief medical officer of, was it Ayurvedagram?
That's right. It's an international healing facility of Kerala Ayurveda in Bangalore, India.
Okay. So you spent some time there. Did you grow up in Bangalore or Kerala or somewhere else?
I was in Kerala. Then after learning from the lineage practice, then joined the formal education, did some of my specialities, then joined Kerala Ayurveda institution. And Kerala Ayurveda is an institution established in 1945 in Cochin, Kerala. So since 98, I'm with the Kerala Ayurveda. And initially I was in our hospital in Cochin, Kerala, then moved to Bangalore. In fact, I went for a 1-month leave vacancy. The chief medical officer of Ayurvedagram went to Dubai to treat the Sheikh of Dubai. So my senior management wanted me to be there for a month. And then, I always take this as an example of it is not that we decide our entire life. We need to have an average direction and plan. Nature will take us through the journey where it is supposed to be.
I love that. And that's really good advice for anybody who's considering a career change or a shift in their job. It's really true. I love that. Thank you. Okay. So you've practiced in both India and you've practiced here in the United States now where you live. And what do you think are some of the differences in what we're able to do with the medicine in the two countries?
Okay. I have 2-3 points to mention about this, Heather. When you hear that Ayurveda is coming from India, an ancient healing system, thousands of years of history, you may think that the whole India, all Indians follow Ayurveda and it's a science from there. But we have a long history of invasions. Whoever came to India, whether it is British or any other group, all of them brought their own science and really pushed into the system, even banning the use of our own indigenous or traditional sciences. So now it is reviving. Post-independence in India, it is reviving back again. The primary difference in practicing in India and here is, in India, using the wholesome meal, using the spices, or the way of the natural cycle of eating, sleep, lot of Ayurvedic principles are already there in the culture. So when somebody come for a consultation, we need to primarily clinically assess and give the right herb to heal or the formulation to heal or an external application for them to support the healing. No need of spending too much time on the diet, lifestyle, what is good for them, what is not good for them, etc. Because it's already there in the culture. It is already there in the practice. Whereas in the Western side of this world, I spend half of my consultation time. I usually do, a 90 minutes first consultation or a 60 minutes consultation. Definitely half of my time I keep it for guiding people on the diet and lifestyle and the practices, the mind care. I try to make it well-rounded because they're not used to many of these concepts. If I suggest somebody here that, hey, don't drink cold water, they will look at me strangely. Why? It has been always. My parents were drinking cold water. I am also. There is nothing, why? So I need to spend time to say my 3 points why you should not drink cold water. The same way, I am a believer that if you are expecting somebody to shift or make a change in whatever they are doing on a regular basis, you have to tell them why that change is important. If they don't change, what can happen? Then as human being, everybody want to help themselves. So once we are able to give the rationale of importance of that shift, I found that is much easier for them to shift rather than I just say the statement that don't bring cold. Means they will just hear, but they will still continue. So that is the one of the primary, differences. There I need to focus on only the clinical aspect, but here I need to even go in detail about, and I created a structure. When I say you have only tools to manage your health, the inputs and the lifestyle. Inputs means there are only 4 inputs in our life: food, water, breath, and perceptions. When I say lifestyle, what you do then I take them through step by step. That really works. That is one thing. The second difference in practicing here in India is they know about Ayurveda. There is no much questions or much, why it is so, why it is not so. So I give enough opportunity for people when I consult here in the western side, here in the area. I tell them, please ask me questions because they are not familiar with the system. So I help them to understand the system, maybe first 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I tell them in a normal layman's language, what is Ayurveda and how it works. And these are the primary difference. Otherwise, all are humans with a heart and brain and all want to be healthy, happy. That's it.
I love it. One of the classic things that I remember from Ayurveda school was when we were talking about raktamokshana, which is, for the listeners who aren't familiar with that, it's essentially bloodletting, we'll say, which is utilized in certain types of imbalances. And that traditionally in India, I was always told that that was done with leeches. Had you had any experience doing that?
Of course, I have done plenty when I was in India. Raktamokshana is one among the 5 cleansing process suggested, the bloodletting. So it is primarily for either, blood related problems, or there is a principle called pitta, which is more of the fire acid combination in such conditions. And there are 4 methods. One is the leeching. Then there is pricking and venipuncture and cupping, etc. So leeching is one of the most important. Without any pain, you can do the bloodletting with the leeches. We do even in eye conditions, in certain conditions. We use a lot of leeching.
Wow, that's amazing. And here in the United States, and I don't know if that's also something that people think is do people think that's weird in India? Because I feel like people would think that's really weird here in the US.
No, it is not weird. It's very powerful. Oh my goodness. In, serious varicose vein type of conditions, it gives amazing results.
If you want to create a more receptive body, free from toxins, inflammation, and metabolic issues, would it be crazy for you to explore booking an Ayurvedic consultation with me? There's probably never been a more perfect time to do it. Every day you wait matters when it comes to your health. So if you're ready to get your body back in balance, I'll give you a 30-day plan to get you started. Go to heathergrish.com to book a consultation. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. So I've always just referred people to go donate blood when they need that type of treatment here in the US, which I've done myself when I've had, high pitta conditions as well. Is that also what you recommend here in the United States?
Not really. I have a slightly different perspective about it. So I say that if you need bloodletting whenever there is an imbalance in your blood or in your pitta, so in that case, you don't want to donate your blood. I would rather suggest you to donate after you purify yourself the good quality blood.
Oh, very good point. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. You know what? I did not think about that. Wow. That is a very good point. We're just,
exactly,
getting rid of the trash and giving the trash to somebody else. Oh, this is great. I'm glad I asked you that question.
Sure.
Yeah. Those poor little leeches.
But no worries. If they suck the impure blood, there is a method we take that out from them. We make them to vomit that blood out, and we put them in the clean thing. We preserve them. We support them. They are the agents, instruments to support. We won't allow them to have that impure blood harming them. So there is a method of purifying them after bloodletting.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so growing up in Kerala, learning from your maternal grandfather, did you grow up speaking Malayalam?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Malayalam is the main language.
Okay.
It's one of the complex languages.
It seems so difficult. I actually spent a little bit of time in Kerala in 2015, and
Oh,
I did. I was at the Shivananda ashram there.
okay, Trivandrum. Okay,
Yep. At
okay,
Nayar
okay.
Dam.
Nayada.
There was a woman who I was hanging out with a lot at the ashram who was a translator. She was from Spain, and
Hmm.
she could pick up languages really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to pick up Malayalam in
Hmm.
going there periodically. I think she had spent maybe 3 months there, and she was able to pick it up really fast. And so, yeah, she took us into town and was our
Hmm.
translator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I found that to be, I mean, it's interesting because when I see Hindi,
Hmm.
when I see it written, because I understand the character language, I can sort of start to process that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But no way with Malayalam because the characters are so different.
Hindi and Sanskrit are having the same scripts, but Malayalam is totally different. Yeah,
And it's amazing how many languages there are in India.
just 44 and dialects is separate.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is.
So in India, like you were saying, that there are many medical systems even in India, and you talked a little bit about how Ayurveda has gone through different sort of eras depending on different government ruling changes and things like that. How long, now that we have Ayurveda programs established, and there are programs established to study Ayurveda, both in India and also in the United States, like you teach in the
Hmm.
United States, how long do you think it takes for someone to study Ayurveda to get at least a decent understanding of it?
Okay, very good question. First of all, Ayurveda is an ocean. Okay, one whole life is not enough to learn the complete Ayurveda. But for every journey, there is the first step. The same way, what I have done at Kerala Ayurveda is first level is more of a prevention and life enhancement, the principles of living, principles of healthy, positive living. For that, a year of training. Our program is over 600 hours, and we found it is fairly good to cover all the principles of Ayurveda from a prevention and life enhancement perspective. If you are getting into the clinicals, it is a little bit more complex because human systems are complex, human diseases are complex. So then, to be a primary clinician, maybe another 1.5 years to 2 years, where the common conditions management. But if you want to be a complete Ayurvedic doctor or an Ayurvedic vaidya professional, you definitely need to spend 5+ years. That also a dedicated learning, not once in a while when you get chance you read it, dedicated period. Then we say that every patient will teach us something new lessons. Every patient, every interaction is learning, and that never ends. And there is no two patients. The medical diagnosis may be the same, but from an Ayurvedic perspective, there is no two patients the same. Everything is customized, everything is personalized in Ayurveda, because what is required for you is very unique to your needs based on your constitution, your age, your condition. So, to make that customization, personalization in complex conditions, the more you learn, the better you are. So, there is no limit. I won't say that you study 5 years, you are done. You are never done. It's a continuous lifelong journey.
When you were studying in India, I'm not sure, I don't know why this comes up as a question for me, but were cadavers studied?
Yes, of
Okay.
course. First 1.5 years, and we had one Swamiji's body he donated to our college, and we had the complete cadaver dissection from the beginning till every organ. Yes, we had.
Yeah, it's interesting that I guess that came up as a question for me because I was sort of wondering if in certain countries that whether or not that's considered a sacred act in some way. Obviously it is
It is. It is definitely. If you read the ancient text of Ayurveda, for example, Sushruta Samhita, you will see that there is a whole process, ritual, and practice of learning anatomy using cadavers.
Right. Yeah. And Sushruta being the surgeon, right?
Yes, yes. The ancient surgeon of India predated to even the father of modern medicine, Hippocrates. Because Hippocrates is 240 BC, where Sushruta, the Vruddha Sushruta is considered as before 1000 BC.
I love how Ayurveda is sort of turned into pop culture in the United States and how I feel like we have sort of pop Ayurveda and then we have deep Ayurveda. Maybe I'll call them those. And even something like the word dosha seems to get kind of confused by a lot of people. So I wanted to see if you could define for the audience the definition of the word dosha.
Dosha, it's a Sanskrit word, dosha. The meaning is that which can go out of balance is called dosha, right? We are referring to three fundamental principles. Ayurveda says dosha is not only for human body. These are all cosmic functions, encompassing principles. There is no function beyond these three in the entire cosmos. You take any cosmic function, there are primarily three. A function of binding, cohesion, two molecules, two atoms, to the union, the cohesion, the binding. That is the kapha, K-A-P-H-A, kapha. Then the second principle is the principle of cooking, transformation, right? Conversion, the fire predominant process. That's called pitta, P-I-T-T-A, converting one to another. And the third principle is the principle of vibration, the principle of movement, dynamism. Any movement that could be physical, functional, energetic. And other than these three, there is no function in the entire cosmos. Binding, transformation, movement. And the correct balance of these three principles will help to maintain all the mind-body functions. The same way, the balance in our nature, the balance in our pets, everywhere you will see this balance. And if you are able to continue that innate balance, you are good. And it's a dynamic, balance. It is not a static balance. It is like how a surfer enjoys on the surfboard on that big wave. It is like the roller skater enjoys in a rolling skate on the uneven surface. The same way life is also like that. It is not static. It changes with the weather. It changes with the day and night, our age, lot of dynamism transitions. But able to keep the dynamic balance is considered as health.
It seems to me like people have confused dosha with their constitutional type a lot in pop culture. I don't know if you've seen that as well.
Yes.
Well, why do you think that's happened?
I have seen that. This has been my observation when I came here in 2010. I attended two international conferences. One was in San Mateo, the NAMA conference at that point of time in 2010. And I found in all the presentations, etc., certain areas of Ayurveda is blown out of proportion, whereas some core clinical concepts are missing, right? One was this, the Constitution. Somebody is 52 Pitta and 51 Vata, somebody else is 52 Vata, and lot of debates, hair splitting on Constitution, etc., without any positive outcome. It doesn't matter whether one is 52 or one is 50. If you know two doshas are predominant in an individual's overall nature, period. There is nothing else to do, right? So I felt that, we always in this modern world want to play with the numbers, flowchart and tables. If we can get everything in a box, we are very happy. But the life will not happen in that way. It's flow, it's movement, it is transition. So we are put in a box and you try, and that is not the right approach. From a traditional Ayurvedic practice, it's all about your overall balance and your flow. And I get into this conversation with my students always, and they are worried about the numbers. That is 52, this is 51, and too caught up in that technicality. Whereas that is not the way it really works in the nature.
Right, because nature's always changing anyway. So the moment you get a number, the second later, it's different.
It is never a fixed number. But in overall nature will stay the same, but within the dynamism, still there will be a prominence.
So after all this time that you've spent in the United States, how many years has it been now?
11 years.
11 years.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone moving to the United States right now who practices Ayurveda, so a vaidya from India, moving to the US? What advice would you give them?
I would give them 3 advices. One, I would suggest them, please practice Ayurveda in the traditional Ayurvedic way. Don't try to change that into a Western medical approach. Never force fit Ayurveda into a modern approach. Rather than you stay with the Ayurvedic principle and make it in a layman's language, a common sense principle for people to understand. Because whenever you try to force fit your system to a totally different system, you are losing your own identity, your own holistic approach. That is one advice I give. Second advice I give is they are used to spending 15 minutes examining and giving the herbs and formulation. I tell them you have to spend much more time with the people when you come to the Western side. Teach them about themselves and their life and the whole, diet, lifestyle practices. Third, I would suggest them that Ayurveda is still not a licensed healthcare practice. You are not a replacement for the modern system at this point of time. Be supportive, be complementary, and be holistic. When a Western doctor chases the bacteria and virus, let us chase the individual to resist that bacteria and virus. When a Western doctor chases the cancer cells, let us chase the individual to get rid of the cancer cells. Focus more on the whole individual and their transformation and journey rather than quick fix of independent issues. This would be my advice to them.
That's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would love to take that advice myself.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
it's interesting, as I guess I always came at it from, because I don't have anything to compare it to practicing in India, but it does seem that part of our role is to help people get to know how they operate and to get them to know themselves as part of a healing journey. And I feel really lucky that we're able to do that work with people. It's very rewarding and it is very time consuming as well.
Totally. But worth spending time, Heather. It's a profound process. Think about an Ayurvedic consultation. A fellow human being suffering, coming to us, opening their heart, opening their life, and putting everything in front of us, seeking help. We as a fellow human being, with the utmost compassion, listening to them and putting all our experience and knowledge in making a shift in their life, embracing them where they are and as they are, and helping them to change. It's a profound process. There is nothing more rewarding than being an Ayurvedic practitioner.
Well, I love it too, and that's why I changed careers in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know if you have a book that you recommend when someone is a complete beginner of Ayurveda and is looking for a general understanding.
There are many books available there. What I felt all these years that I liked the book, The Prakriti, Your Ayurvedic Constitution by Robert Svoboda. And his writing style, the way he put, information found to be more easy to understand and palatable for the Western audience. That's what I thought.
I actually have not read that one. I haven't read that one. My beginner books were all Dr. Lad books.
Okay. Dr. Lad's books many of them are, advanced books.
Mm.
But if somebody is first time getting introduced to Ayurveda, there are many books, but one of the books what I suggest is Prakriti or Your Ayurvedic Constitution by Dr. Svoboda.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
So wrapping up today, thank you so much for being here and just hearing about your journey and also just great points that you've made about Ayurveda and also, some advice that you even have for people, which I think is really valuable. I guess, would you say that there's anything that we've forgotten today that you might want to communicate to the audience about, how to really listen to their bodies?
Uh-huh. Of course, there is no end, Heather. We can talk for hours and hours and hours. It will never end. But my suggestions would be, or guidance, few points, thoughts would be, human life is precious. It's a very special opportunity as a human being with that additional intelligence to support not only our own life and ourselves, to support others, every other being and the nature. We are much more blessed to have that additional intelligence. And we are a part of or an integral part of this nature. Protecting ourselves is same as protecting the nature. So being supportive, being compassionate, we have only finite life, only few years, and doing the best for ourselves, our family, friends, community, and the nature. And if we are able to say, touching the heart and say at the end of this physical existence that I have done whatever I can and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, that is considered as the highest human success. Body has the intelligence, listen to your body and listen to the nature, and never try to mask when your body warns you about something. Try to go into the depth of where the warning is coming. That could be an acne, that could be a discoloration, and try to solve from the root. That will help you to sustain that. And thank you, thank you, Heather, for this opportunity. Enjoyed spending time with you. I liked your questions and even allowing me to tell my stories.
I've really enjoyed hearing your story, and I just want to thank you so much. And I'm sure the listeners had a wonderful time hearing from you. If anyone wants to connect with you, either to learn about your teaching programs or to do a consultation with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. One is our website. It has all the information, including detailed catalogs, and we do conduct professional education, continued education program, public education, free webinars. So our website is keralaayurveda.us. KERALAAYURVEDA.us. If they need to reach out to us for any inquiry, the number is 888-275-9103. Extension 10 is for the academy and extension 40 is for our wellness center. So we are here. This is, as I mentioned, this is not just a work or a business. This is a life mission. And I, welcome everybody, if they have any questions, to reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Dr. J, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrish.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.